Okay, what we would like to do at this time is to introduce our staff to you. We do this not at the end, but we do it up front. And the reason we do that is as questions come up throughout the summit, we want you to be able to find them, be able to reach out to them, field your questions with them, and you'll know names and faces because we've had some changes in personnel that have occurred over the summer. And anytime there's changes that happen on a team, there are many dynamics that take place, right? Yes, and we're planning a summit all at the same time. So it's my privilege to introduce my RST partner, Chief Master Sergeant Sadie Chambers. The best senior enlisted advisor and career field manager for the 5RO community in the Air Force Chaplain Corps.
Thank you, sir.
And if there were a 10, she would still be number one. Anyway, I'm happy to have Chief by my side. One thing that Chief does for me that probably not many people in this room know is she always comes up, like before a big event, and says two things. What can I do for you? And you've got this. Whether I do or not. But always the ever encouraging wingman, teammate, RST partner, but someone that I trust and depend. And so I just want to say thanks for being my teammate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a privilege. So, do I get to introduce my RST partner?
No.
Hey, he's already had amazing hype from our MCs today and Chaplain Painter introducing him earlier today, but it is a privilege and an honor to serve alongside him and Miss Sherry, and they do so much to care for and lead our Chaplain Corps. And so when we go around and we visit, we model this. Like, he is my hype person, I am his hype person. Like, I have his back and he has my back. And I think that was just so critically important whenever we first started to work together, that he's like, I need you to know that I trust you and that I've got your back and I know that you've got mine. And those were the three things that he just, needed to share with me, and that's where we started our journey with respect, service, and trust.
Amen.
So what you didn't mention in the midst of a large PCS season for our staff is we also moved back into the Pentagon. The most of us, our front office is still, we got a flag in both locations, but that also occurred within a couple weeks of this summit. And so when you think about PCS moves and your office move and setting up phones and figuring out, a few of us have wandered the halls of the Pentagon trying to figure out where our space is again, and that's been a challenge that we're adapting and overcoming over as well. But the network and the ability to just, yesterday morning I was in CMSgt's office. Like, we can do that now because it's like 50 steps instead of a 40-minute drive in traffic trying to find a parking space, get to the building, the meeting's canceled, and you're like, okay, let me turn around and head back, right? So those are just some of the dynamics that are going on, but Chaplain Kitchens and I could not do it without our amazing team, and so it's our privilege to introduce them to you.
All right, so we're going to go with the front office. So our new executive officer, where's Chaplain Kim? Come on up too. I know. Chaplain Kim wanted to just kind of, he is basically attending the summit on behalf of where he's headed because the wing chaplain is deployed. But I think you're still on our books. Yes. So as many of you know, Chaplain Kim, executive officer, on his way out to Spain Island, and has passed off to Chaplain Major Lucas Deglish, and we're happy to have him here as our incoming new executive officer. So you've seen him running around. He was doing what Chaplain Kim has done the last 2 years. Chaplain Kim's enjoying just sitting back, watching Chaplain Daglish do all the running around. But anyway, I want to recognize both of you. Any other front office staff, I'll let you introduce those who are not here that are doing the real work.
I just want to say thank you to Chaplain Kim, who's had a month handover with me. It's been an awesome opportunity to learn and to serve you all as I serve my principal, Chaplain Kitchens, in the front office. So we have a great front office team, small but mighty. And I want to mention them by name. Mr. Narvin Gray, who's back at JBAB right now, taking care of our force, answering all the emails that we get in every day. And Master Sergeant Oscar Perez Medellin is also our personnelist there. So that's our front office. If you think that you imagine the Curtain of Oz, it's just a few people behind there pulling strings, but we're here to take care of you all, and I'm specifically here to empower his ministry and the front office. So we're proud to serve you all. I could not ask for a better team and a better person to replace. So if you need anything from me, my name's Lucas. Please come and find me. I'm here to serve you all. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. So Chaplain Page and Chief Select Jackson, I'm going to ask you to come forward, and Chaplain Sweeney can join also. There we go. So Chaplain Page serves as our Director of Staff, dual-hatted, also the Chief of Religious Affairs, Space Religious Affairs. So I'd like to, if you would introduce your folks.
Sure. So, Chaplain Sweeney, Dan, also a professor, right? Yes. By trade, where?
University of Scranton.
All right, Scranton. Anybody from Scranton? You've seen the TV show, though, right? All right. But he just joined us. It's a pleasure to have him on the team. My right hand, and then Chief Select Jackson.
Woo! Yeah.
So there are no words, right? I mean, she's just a rock star, and that's a great RSD partner to have. So that's our small mighty team in the DS.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right.
Chaplain Giannoni and Team HCP, which stands for Personnel, Readiness, and Budget. Ask if you would introduce those who are present and also those who are not here.
So good morning, everyone.
Come on. There's room for everybody on
So
this
off
stage.
to my left, we have Chaplain John Runnels, and he's brand new here, about 6 weeks in the seat, and he's the Deputy Division Chief as well as our readiness fam. Next to him, we have Master Sergeant D. He's been here a few years. He's the manager. Personnel, budget, and readiness, yes, Senior Select. And then we have Sergeant Wilson. She has been here about 2 months, I would say, new as well. And so she's the manager for personnel and budget. And then over here we have Tech Sergeant Sean Messina. He's been here for a while as well, about 2 years. And he is the manager for personnel and readiness. So he's Chaplain Reynolds' RST partner. Those who aren't here this morning, we have 2 civilians that are part of our budget team. We have Mrs. Elizabeth James. She is our budget analyst. And then we have Mrs. Teresa Shenko. She is our financial and manpower resources lead. And so that's your HCP team. Thank you.
So what does Sergeant D do? What's his title?
The manager for personnel, budget, and readiness.
All right.
And he's also the alternate CFM.
Ah, there you go. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. So now our HCX team, plans and programs. So Chaplain Waleed Habash, ask if you will join and your team, and if you will introduce everyone, even if they're not here. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I am the new kid on the block, so it's going to be hard to do this.
Good job.
remember all the names. But before I forget, I definitely want to introduce first Mr. Nate Crocker, the man behind the camera. So, a lot of the multimedia that you get to see out and about, he's right behind that. I do appreciate everything that you do, and thank you for being here today. I'll start from here. Chaplain Pugh, Kevin Pugh. So if you're wondering, him and his RST partner, Master Sergeant Maruzo. If you don't know Sergeant Maruzo, I invite you to get to know him. He's the joy of HCX. So there's no dull moment in HCX. So when things are going in a different directions and people maybe teary eyes, and he's the man with the plan that makes us happy and dandy. But they are the POC, the action officers, behind what you see at the summit. So I'm very thankful for them. You know, you walk into HCX, HC, and there are a lot of things going on, and you'll be like, what do I do now? The good thing is, it's a great blessing to have all of them because they know what they're doing. All I have to do is just sit, be nice, kind, and sometimes quiet, and they will get the job done. So I'm very thankful for both of you. Sergeant Reed. You know, I am very technically challenged, so the people that knows me knows that. So I've always asked questions, how do you do this? You know, how do I print? You know, how do I connect to this? And not just only that, but when I ask, someone comes with a smile, with the expertise, the subject matter expert, not just only with technology, but a lot of other things that needs to be done at HCX. Sergeant Reed, I'm very thankful for you. Sergeant Johnson, the total force. So if you wonder sometimes that you need someone with a hammer that tells you to your eyes without breaking any knees, you know, or making you get on the ground, Sergeant Johnson, we're very thankful to have you, indeed. Put us right on the straight path and making things do happen. And he's smiling. Chaplain Hahn just got here, you know, and he's the policy guy. If you know Chaplain Street, so Chaplain Street was the one always smiling, you know, when you talk about policy, which is a bit weird, you know, when someone talks about policy. And he's like, he gets excited. But then he gets here, almost the same replica. You know, he comes with a smile, and every time we say policy, he's like, he smiled. So he might be the right fit, and I'm very thankful for having him. Next to him is Chaplain Worf, coming from Air Command and Staff College, right? So if you want wisdom, tons of stuff, programs that overwhelms you, that's him. So every time there's something, he comes and talks to me, and I'll be like, time out. I need a break. Can you please break it down to Barney level? Anyone knows Barney? Yeah. We look alike, right? A little bit different color. But that's Chaplain Worf, and I'm very thankful for him. And my wise man, Jim Murphy, he is very wise. Yeah. When things are going into so many different directions, he comes in and makes things happen and say, hey, slow down. Let's talk about this. And makes the job on the spot. So this is HCX. Please take care of them. Be nice to them. If you have an issue, please talk to Chaplain Kitchens.
As soon as we are done, I'll be over here to the right taking all the issues. No, this is our team, and so we wanted to introduce our team to you. So if obviously if you have any questions about anything, these are the people that you can talk to. Because if you actually come and bring it to me, I'm actually going to turn and give it to them. So you may just want to have the conversation with them first, and then tell me. That'd be great. So this title was our staff introduction. Is there anyone, now let me ask, is there anyone that we omitted? That's where I was headed next. So one of the things that as we move forward, total force integration is part of who we are. So we're going to hear from our service components later in the week, but we have the privilege and pleasure every day. So I'd like to ask Chaplain Franz, Chaplain Painter to join me. So you heard from Chaplain Painter earlier this morning. We'll hear from Chaplain Franz tomorrow. So this is the addition to our front office. They are, I would put it this way, they are my subject matter experts in the areas of reserve and guard. That's one way to look at it. But in addition to that, with total force integration, they are trained to actually sit in my seat if I am out. So in other words, if it's a meeting, if it is a response, if the government is relocating somewhere, they are trained to go represent me to keep the continuity of government as far as the Chaplain Corps is concerned. So I'm very pleased, the mobilization assistant to the Chief of Chaplains, Chaplain John Painter, and then the Air National Guard assistant to the Chief of Chaplains is Chaplain Paul Franz. And I could not say more great words about these two gentlemen who they have basically come in. I have been on the road multiple places week after week, and I never have to worry because the staff, these two individuals, along with Chaplain Colonel Chris Webb, the mobilization assistant to the Deputy Chief of Chaplains, who is actually in the Pentagon taking care of all of our business this week for us. The three of them have helped to really cover down in our office. And so I wanted to, I saved the best for last, because I wanted to just personally in front of our folks here say thank you for the dedication and the sacrifice you have made, you are making, and you will continue to make until your last day to serve comes to be. So anyway, thank you to both for your work and your sacrifice. And just want to introduce the two of them along with Chaplain Chris Webb.
Thank you.
And my RST partner, sir.
Yes.
And I will say, when we talk about total force integration, you saw Master Sergeant Johnson was up here getting it announced as an HCX member, but she is our IMA attached to HCP. So we lean heavily on our reserve member for our team. She's been on backfill for 2 years supporting our staff. And we're working closely with Chaplain Bowling and Chief Williamson in the Guard. They have a position identified to come in and have a Guard liaison within our office as well. So hopefully next year we'll have some total force integrated individuals to represent as well. So exciting things in the future.
Awesome. Well, that is our staff. We wanted to do that staff introduction. And I believe the next thing talks about Chief of Chaplain's vision casting. So I would like to be casting something about now, but it is usually a tie on the end of a fly rod in a babbling river trying to watch a rainbow trout rise. However, I am in the National Capital Region, so I won't be doing any fly fishing. So, but let me just introduce this vision casting. I cannot cast the vision alone. So that is why Chief Chambers is right beside me. So we have a vision cast, and we're going to do it in 2 parts. And so I'll do part 1 and get you to do part 2, if that's okay.
Ready, sir.
We just heard from our senior leaders. And so how many times do you have to say China to get people's attention?
At least 3 times.
Well, according to the Secretary of the Air Force, it's China, China, China. So you must have to say it 3 times to get people's attention. So how many have heard that there is a great competition and China is in the mix? Okay, that was about half of the hands up. So raise your hand if you've heard that. Okay, that's better. That's good. That's part 1, to know that there is a great power competition that is before us. You've heard from our senior leaders this morning the role they're expecting us to play. Now, is there anyone here that thinks that we do not have a role in the great power competition? There are some that believe that we do not have a role in this, but I'm here to say that we do have a role. There are great expectations that were laid out by our senior leaders to us this morning. I believe now more than ever that the Chaplain Corps is at a critical point in history. The future of the Chaplain Corps will be founded and set on a course for the future. We've already started the journey, and how we shape it going forward is going to make the difference. And you heard our senior leaders talking about us being part of shaping. Right where you serve and those who serve with you are shaping the Chaplain Corps of the future. It's how we do that. So I'm really here to remind each of us that right now we are on the clock. The clock is ticking. Every second that goes by while I'm talking, decisions are being made in the Pentagon and around the world, both with our U.S. Department of Defense, with our allies and partners, and also with our enemy. We play a critical role. We are on the clock of how we can turn this great airframe called the Chaplain Corps in the direction for the future. This afternoon, we're going to talk about some lines of effort of HCNext 2.0. You have heard this. You will continue to hear this. We're going to depend on you to help not only message this, but shape this for the future. As I said this morning, we're not going to prescribe the program and how to do it. We would like to describe with framework how you can custom design it for your place. You heard General Brown talk about that. His greatest frustration is a package program that's pushed from the Pentagon to the installation. Here, you just need to go do this great thing. No, ours is the framework of a capability for you to custom design as a way of life. It's not a program, it's a way of life. It's an attitude. It's a discipline. It is the heart. Because right now, the readiness, fortification of our warfighter and family is our #1 agenda. This is what the Secretary of the Air Force is expecting us to produce and do. This is what the Chief Staff of the Air Force and his vice both expect us to do. This is what the Chief of Space Operations expects us to do for airmen, guardians, and family. Fortify their readiness. So how do we do that? We're going to talk about that in more detail this afternoon. But it's this fortifying the warfighter and family that is at the heart, it's at the foundation, it is who we are. The Chaplain Corps has been here for many years doing that. In fact, 74 years. Next year will be the 75th anniversary of the Air Force Chaplain Corps. We grew out of the Army Air Corps, and we were doing it then 2 years. We're going to continue to do this. But you heard Joe Brown talk about how we serve a different population than we served 10 years ago. And are we adapting to what is new? There is a school of thought that, well, we need to just divest all this other stuff and focus on the new. We're still flying B-52s that flew in Vietnam. And they're still flying pretty well. So rather than divesting everything from the past, we need to continue those things, and we may need to redesign, modify, moving forward, that is going to fortify the warfighter and family. Then, what are the new things that we can do? How can we mesh this together? That's the accelerating change that General Brown's talking about. So how are we going to do that? As I said, this afternoon, Chief and I will go in greater detail. But as I shared with someone yesterday, when decisions come to us about policy, you saw the way General Brown approached it. He was rather transparent, but there are some things that it's a great idea, but we can't get there from here. But let's talk about it. When we look at policy, we don't think about, hey, this is a great thing, we're just going to push this down. The first question I ask is, what is the impact at the installation level? Is this going to create more work that we have less result? But instead, how can we shape this where it can be modified and custom designed at the lowest level? I remember what it was like to be a wing chaplain. I do. I remember very well. I remember receiving the programs from on high, and all the while wishing that we would have the framework with the resourcing to better care for our people. So really, that's the heart of the matter. That is at the foundational point. So a reminder, we're on the clock. We do not have 2 years to get this right. There are some things that in 6 months we need to be already moved out. In 1 year, we need to be at a different level in how we're moving forward. And then 18 months and 2 years. In 2 years, we need to be in a different direction. Now, I may be long gone at that point, but this is not about me. This is not my vision. This is a corporate vision and how the Chaplain Corps can embrace this going forward. So this is as much yours as it is mine. Because at the end of the day, the focus is on the warfighter and the family and how we are going to be able to care best for them, prepare them that professionally and personally they are spiritually ready for tomorrow's fight. That's number one. So, Chief, What is the second big vision cast?
You got it. We cannot get after number one, the number one agenda to fortify our airmen, guardians, and families, warfighter readiness, if we do not re-image our Chaplain Corps culture and rebuild our readiness. Those things have to happen. They must happen if we're going to prepare for tomorrow's fight today. Because they're looking at us. And they're saying, Chaplain Corps, we need you to be the example. We need you to be that sense of calm in the chaos. We need you to be that voice of reason. We need you to be that ear to listen, that shoulder to lean on, that heart to care. We need you to speak truth to power. And how do we do that if we are putting barriers up that prevent our own chaplains, our own religious affairs airmen, our directors of religious education, our civilian personnel that partner alongside of us, if we are placing barriers in front of them that prevent them from reaching their fullest potential? We fight like crazy, and we have the great privilege to advocate for you at the highest levels, but I would say we get a lot of, we need more money and more manpower. Those, I mean, would love to throw money and people at every problem, but we have to recognize if we have to go in and the clock is ticking and we're going right now, it's the numbers that we got. And are we doing everything that we can to inspire that airman spirit or guardian spirit, like General Salzman was saying? Like, what are we doing to care for our people so that we can reach our fullest potential? And are we ready? It's a mindset. It's a way of life. It's let's look in the mirror and let's have the hard conversation with self. What do we need to do to be able to be right alongside of our airmen and our guardians and their families when and if and when the balloon goes up? Like, we have become accustomed to going to the Middle East and being the dominant air power and not taking as significant losses as could be forecasted with what we are facing, with the challenges laid ahead of us. When we go around and we visit port mortuaries and we visit our professionals at Dover and we go to Ramstein and we talk about what are your capabilities to receive mass casualty and take care of our dead. Like, we're talking about massive numbers. And that's not to be a downer. That should be something, a fire in our belly to go, this is why we said we would defend our nation and its interests, and we would lay down our lives for this generation and the next. Like, we were just at the Air Force Sergeant Association last week, and our senior leaders were talking about each generation pays for the next generation's freedom. And that's what we're being called to do. And if we can't do that, how can we fortify warfighter readiness if we are not ready to serve right alongside of them? That's the beauty of the Chaplain Corps, is that we have that open invite. That's why we have the best job in the Air Force and the Space Force. I mean, like, come on. Everybody wants us there. Or are we ready? Or are we saying, oh, I have a bucket and a band, and maybe in 6 months I might be able to go, and I'll try to get my family. Get your families ready now, if they aren't already ready. It's not over there. It's here. Think about and talk about how you have faced mass casualties at your own locations. Oftentimes, the things that we prepare for thinking it's going to be over there are right in our backyard. And we need to have that mindset. And so we will talk through more about the lines of efforts, and we'll say this is what we describe that you can do in your area, because nobody knows it better than you do. You know the allies, you know the partners, you know the community that's there, you know the challenges, whether it's riptides, whether it's tornadoes, whether it's depression, and whether it's hours of darkness, and you know uniquely what would help provide for the teams there, but provide for this team. Y'all all know it. I'm just saying what you're thinking. Like, we will pour out and care for everybody else and forget about ourselves, in spite of ourselves, in spite of our families. So, like, please hear us say, the only way to fortify warfighter readiness is if we get our culture right, where every person in this room is respected, valued, for being uniquely them, and they belong, and they figure out the balance between uniform military service, but they actively want to serve, and we empower them, and we have them be fully engaged in what it is that we uniquely bring, walking in confidence of, yeah, I'm in the Chaplain Corps. Yeah, I wear the HC patch. I'm not just a chaplain. I'm not just a religious affairs. I have unique skills, talents, requirements that only we can do. And let me talk about my RST partner. And let me talk about this religious affairs airman and what they can bring and the exciting things that they can do for you. And here's how we're going to be ready. We're going to take time each week, and we're going to talk about what would happen if this. What if this? Then we will respond here. We will practice here. We'll fortify these relationships in these areas. We will get spun up on suicide prevention and intervention and critical incident management and making sure that we are ready, because it matters. And they're going to look to us, and they're going to think that we have all the answers. And I hope we do. I really hope we do. So we talked a little bit about RST, sir.
So let me talk a little more. So respect, service, trust, for readiness. So let's talk about RSTs. So that platform, I've described ours, a chaplain, religious affairs airman. So chaplains, let me just say, your RST partner is your lifeline. Are you building the respect, the service, and trust together? How you introduce them makes all the difference. What you know about them.
I like that I saw head nods and side eye at the same time. So I didn't say who did what, but I am watching the room while I listen to you, sir.
So, I mean, you know, how well do you know your RST partner? Do you know that this week they're going to send their firstborn off to college? And they're going to take them and get them set up in their dorm room while the summit is going on. So on Thursday, Chief will need extra hugs.
I'll take them all.
So Senior Jackson's in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a huge rite of passage. Knowing about that, walking with them through that journey, how you introduce them makes all the difference. You know, I'm just the Chief of Chaplains, right?
You're not just anything, sir.
But this is not just our senior enlisted advisor and our career field manager for our 5RO. This is someone, you've heard us talk about the mutual respect, how we serve together, and the trust. That is the bond. And let me just go ahead and say one more thing. This is not personality driven. It's not about personalities. A lot of people think team building is about personalities. It's not. It's about professionalism. It is the professionalism with the personal touch. That is really what building a team is about. And so chaplains, I urge you not only to know all of your religious affairs airmen, but your RST partner, but you're their hype person. You're their respected, serving, trusting co-laborer together. So that's one part of RSTs.
Religious Affairs Airmen, you are the hype person for your chaplain RST partner. There is an expectation, my expectation, our enlisted force structure expectation, that you will deliberately develop your officer counterpart, speaking truth to power about the 75 to 80% of the enlisted force and what challenges we face, what our unique skills and talents are to meet the demands of the mission. What does development look like for your chaplain? Are you asking them? Are you asking her? Are you saying, sir, ma'am, how do I help you meet your goals? What are your goals? Are you taking a knee when you need to take a knee? That Mass Cal event hit a little close to home. How are you doing? We want our chaplains to understand the enlisted force structure. We want them to understand what it is to get a stratification, what it is to write a strong enlisted performance brief. We want recognition for our efforts and the opportunity to compete for all kinds of opportunities. Are we asking the same question for our chaplains and checking in with them and saying, how can I help you achieve your goals? Not how can I do it for you, but how can I come alongside and help you be successful? And I think there also has to come that piece of that ability to say, hey, you know, ma'am, sir, that didn't land the way that I think you thought it would. And here's an opportunity to speak to that or course correct in the same way that I would ask Chaplain Kitchens to do that or anyone else. You don't want to just send them in, think, yep, everything's great. I do say you've got this, but I also will say, hey, there's an opportunity to speak over here or clean that up. And he does the same thing for me. We say all this to say we're not perfect. We make mistakes. I know Chaplain Kitchens mentions every time he stands in the mirror and asks God why He chose him to be the chief of chaplains, right? But not our will, yours, and we'll go do what we've been asked to do, and we'll do the next right thing, as Chaplain Danford says.
Actually, I say, Lord, what were you thinking? That's the truth.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But we are better and stronger together, just like our senior leaders shared here. Diversity of thought, diversity of experience. There is a wealth of knowledge that our chaplains bring from their seminary experience, from their experience serving in CPE and in hospital ministry and in prison ministry and youth ministry. And at the same time, your religious affairs airmen are bringing a wealth of knowledge, education experience, school of hard knocks, like whatever we need to lean into to get the job done, we're going to get it done. And when we come together, we're unstoppable. So when we talk about casting the vision, that's how those things become a reality, when we do it together with dignity and respect.
So I just want to add one thing, and it's really what our senior leaders talked about when they talked about, we're talking about toxic leadership, we're talking about toxic followership, we talk about building teams. They talked around it and they hinted at it, but really General Brown highlighted Airman's time, of a time of bringing the team together to get to know. So that's one aspect of it. Another point paper that came out, one that would highlight the importance of standards and professionalism. So that standards memo was very intentional. Post worldwide epidemic, post-COVID, is we need to maintain standards and uphold them. If you fail to do that, what happens, and this is what I jotted down when they were talking, is moral and ethical drift. And if we allow moral and ethical drift to start, it is difficult to bring it back. So how many have ever been floating in the ocean and you see that pole, and the next time you look up, it's way back over here and you have floated down? That is the way moral and ethical drift happens. It is one point where you say, you know what, it's okay, I don't have to worry about that. And the third time you do that, it then becomes a standard and a norm. And that moral ethical drift will take you way downstream, far from where you started. As we look across our core and we ask ourselves about the challenges that we see our Chaplain Corps members within, that is one reference point that they touched on this morning, going back to the standards and guarding against the moral and ethical drift. That's really caring about team members too. So with that, they're trying to wave us off the stage because I think you need a break or something. But I could not let that moment go by saying we have a lot to do. We have a lot in front of us, and we're excited about this time we have together and the time that you're going to have to talk about how you can embrace this at your level, how you can actually make a difference for your team and for the people we serve in being ready tomorrow today. And with that, thank you so much for this time. And this is our get off the stage time so that we can go welcome Chief Bass and be ready for CMSgt Bass to talk with us and lead us. So with that, thank you.